important because we must be aware of the fact that there's a long history of people living, moving around, having relationships, trading and doing business, marrying, worshipping, and many, many other things together in the region. And that's important for us to have a sense of humanity and solidarity on this issue. Thirdly, I think the South African history in recent times on this matter hasn't actually been a bad one until these recent developments. We've had some of the most humane laws and systems in terms of receiving people who are migrants and refugees, processing them in a fairly humane way, even though, the service at Home Affairs is not something that one would call very efficient. But, unlike other countries, we have not seen huge internments of people into camps and been, left to live lives in tented cities, as it were, as we see in other parts of the world. And I think that is also important because it's building on that kind of ethos of human rights and of caring for people. That is something that we need to ensure continues and in fact develops, rather than what we're seeing, which is a turn towards heavy-handedness and militarization of the issue and the rise of xenophobia. And I think that all of these are things that should worry us all as citizens of South Africa and as people who live in the region. I think that we all know that it's the domestic political crises in these countries that has caused this large movement of people. In the case of the Zimbabwean Exemption Permit, we're talking about nearly 2 decades of people being in this country. That means that they've put down roots, they've found work, they've got a home, their children are at school, and to simply think that an administrative measure to remove these permits is a solution to the very real challenge of what to do about people, who have been living here on these permits is frankly speaking, it's irresponsible. We need to look at 3 measures. The one is, I think, that we've got to fight for the permits to be extended. We've got to then look into policies that will ensure that those people who have stayed here long enough are considered eligible for permanent residence and for citizenship, along the lines of the Dreamers policy in the US, and I think that includes temporary measures, around particular categories of people who may or may not qualify in terms of residence and citizenship. But I think all of those permit holders would in my mind, and I think that we must go to the NC Policy Conference to fight for, some kind of humane intervention in this regard. And then secondly, I think we have to step up and intensify the efforts and the interventions that will lead to long-term peace, stability, and development in Zimbabwe, Lesotho, and other neighboring countries. When all is said and done, for as long as there's a crisis in Zimbabwe, people are going to be trying to cross the border into South Africa.